Welcome back to Yoshi Entertainment, everybody. So as we've all seen all over the news and the media, people have been coming out left and right, blowing the whistle on P. Diddy, telling their own side of the story, what happened to them allegedly, and also some people who came forward to basically validate what Cassie said. Now, I've already made videos talking about that I do believe that he did victimize her. Of course, I have to say allegedly, we all know why. I do believe everything that she put in those documents. I believe everything that she said that she alleged against him. And once again, I believe in the saying, not everybody is lying, and where there's smoke, there's fire. That settlement, how quickly it happened, and how many people keep coming out after she made the statements that she did, told me everything I needed to know. But anyways, there was a very interesting thing that I might talk about in another video where Gene Deal, who was one of the former bodyguards of P. Diddy, he has been talking about this stuff. Like, he didn't just come out of the woodwork after Cassie filed the lawsuit about the stuff that was going on behind closed doors, allegedly with Diddy and the people surrounding him, both the men and the women for that matter. And once again, the fact that nobody has filed a lawsuit against this man for defamation tells me everything I need to know. Another person who's been talking about this for quite some time now, who a lot of people tried to discredit and call crazy, was Jaguar Wright. She even said herself, if anything that came out of her mouth was a lie, why has she not gotten hit with a defamation lawsuit yet? Once again, tells me everything I need to know. But anyways, two of the main people that I wanted to talk about that came forward to talk about P. Diddy and the things that he did behind closed doors, one of those people was one of his former heads of security by the name of Roger Bonds. Now, everybody was extending grace and mercy because there were some people, you know, he was coming out talking about, well, he has 4 daughters, and I guess he feels, I don't want to say guilty, but a certain kind of way for not saying anything before, and he feels bad, so he was trying to clear his conscience, come onto the internet and talk about, you know, what he saw, XYZ, like I said, kind of corroborate Cassie's story. Like I said, some people, they weren't really here for it because they felt like, why didn't you say something at the moment? But at the same time, a lot of people were extending grace and mercy because once again, the man did say he has 4 daughters. So he had mouths to feed. He had a job to do. Now he talked about how it made him sick basically to be around all of that toxicness and dysfunction and seeing all of what Diddy was allegedly putting the people around him through, which is why eventually he left. And he kind of, I want to say, insinuated / said that, you know, he thought about saying something. But if Cassie was not ready to come out or she was not in a position to come out and say it at that time, then him saying it wasn't going to help anybody in the situation. Like, people don't really, I don't think about this kind of stuff. They don't actually theoretically, so to speak, you know, run through the thought process of, okay, so if he would have said something at the time, you know, allegedly all the people around Diddy, you know, anytime they say anything about him, bad things happen allegedly. So ain't no telling what could have happened to him and Cassie for that matter, for him saying something on her behalf. So unfortunately, even in the middle of abuse, you know, there are certain moments where you might not be able to say anything. Like, you gotta unfortunately hold what you have for your own life or the safety of somebody else until you can get to a point where you are safe, you are in a mental and emotional headspace to process what you've been through, deal with it, grieve over it, and then be strong enough to come out and say what you have to say. So if you say it too soon, then you've screwed your chance over, essentially. So like I said, a lot of people were using their brains and actually thinking about that and being empathetic and saying, well, we agree with him on that part because, once again, if he had tried to speak out too soon, it could have gotten both of them messed over. So we understand that, but still some people it didn't sit right with some people, let me just put it that way, that this woman was the first one to come forward with all that was going on. She was the first one brave enough to put her life in jeopardy and the life of her family, let's be clear, and say what was going on, blow the whistle. The only other person that we've seen doing that, well, people, once again, was Jaguar Wright and Gene Deal. But nonetheless, he came out and he said what he had to say. But then he kind of backtracked in another video, and some people were assuming that maybe, you know, allegedly his safety might be at risk. Now he's put a target on his back because he's finally decided to say something. And of course, the internet, like they often do, because the internet is petty and they often keep receipts. Well, I say often, the internet always keeps receipts. They dug up some dirt on him and let the entire internet know that allegedly this young man's son committed the M word in Africa and that he was upset, like I said, allegedly, with Diddy because Diddy chose not to help him, I guess, bail his son out of prison, whatever, etc. I'm not completely sure how long the young man has allegedly been over there, but some people were trying to say, oh, the only reason why you came forward was because you're trying to spite Diddy, because they felt like he wouldn't have had a reason to really put his, like I said, life and family in danger at this point, coming forward at any other time. So once again, because of this information and not really knowing his real motives, a lot of people feel like him coming forward was very disingenuous and not to actually help Cassie, but to basically, I guess, sort of self-vindicate and to, like I said, do this out of spite against him, allegedly, for all of this. Now, is this the truth? Do we know that this is 100% the truth? Or was his exact motives? We don't know for sure, but the information is out there. You take it with a grain of salt and do with it what you will. Now, one last person, the second person that I wanted to talk about who has been coming forward all of a sudden, for whatever reason, talking about all this alleged stuff that Diddy did behind closed doors, is Mark Curry. Now, he went on to the YouTube channel, The Art of Dialogue, and he had some things to say. One of those things was that allegedly, this is what came out of his mouth, allegedly, that P. Diddy broke Kim Porter's nose, which was a rumor that was going around on YouTube for a while now. People didn't know if it was actually true. Like I said, it was a rumor. He is alleging that this happened, that he knew that this happened, and he's also alleging that P. Diddy had Kim Porter's phone wiretapped. That is some crazy stuff if I've ever heard it before in my life. And not crazy as in unbelievable, crazy as in the fact that he would allegedly do that to somebody who was in his life, the mother of his children, for crying out loud. Just sick in the head. If I'm not mistaken, he also talked about the alleged abuse between P. Diddy and Misa Hilton. And he's not the first person who has talked about that. Once again, Gene Deal was one of the first people, if I'm not mistaken, if I remember correctly, who said that he had beat this woman so badly, allegedly, that she ran up under the car to get away from him. Like I said, this is a sick person, allegedly. Sick in the head and just sick in general. Now, once again, some people question this man's motives because, once again, he is a, if I'm not mistaken, ex-bad boy artist. They were saying, okay, you were around this man. You allege that you saw all this. You're spilling it all now because he's in the lawsuit and because, once again, Cassie was brave enough to be the one to break this open, once again, get the ball rolling. But now it's trendy. You can monetize off of it. You know people are going to want to listen because of this. You know, you're in a little bit more of a safe space because there's a bunch of people coming out of the woodwork left and right. So it's hard to pinpoint one individual person. And once again, you can monetize off of it. But where was all of this once again when it was happening? Why didn't you say something then? That's how people are feeling right now. And I do believe that they have the justification to feel that way. Once again, people are pointing out timing is everything. Although, after listening to him on The Art of Dialogue, he just seems very questionable to me. Very shady, like his motives are not in the right place once again. And it sets a very bad record and puts a very bad name to the people who genuinely have been witnesses and come out and they say, oh yeah, we saw XYZ. Might not have been able to say something at the time, but we can now, once again, because the ball is rolling. It makes them look bad. We all know in real life and on the internet, it takes one person who lied or didn't tell the truth or who was just doing this out of spite, who was scorned, who was just trying to get back at somebody, or actually did have bad motives and just wants money. It takes one person for so many people to discredit all of the majority, the grand majority of individuals who really have been screwed over, who really are victims, and they don't want to listen anymore. And it's really messed up. Yes, I understand once again that some people do lie, but to judge the whole, like I said, the grand majority by the few raggedy people, it's just not right. Once again, it just seemed like to me that these two men, they didn't really have the right motives and almost like they kind of low-key justified what happened to those women. Or that they really didn't care as much as they're trying to come off as that they did. But that's just me. That's the vibes that I'm getting, allegedly. This is my personal opinion. Nobody should take it and run with it or get morbidly offended. Personally, I felt like, you know, there are just some people out here, they're lacking in empathy, and they're very lacking in empathy when it comes to women. For some reason, they don't want to see these women just, you know, secure a win, so to speak. They don't want to see these women get vindicated who really have been screwed over. We're talking about the women who are telling the truth. I'm not even concerned about the women right now that are lying. This is about the women who have the blatant proof and evidence. and that are telling the truth. They might not have evidence, but they're telling the truth. It's like some people don't want to see these women get their vindication. Now, I would have figured that if there were some men that came out of the woodwork that were pointing fingers and making accusations, that would change. But I honestly doubt even that's possible or even an option right now, because once again, our culture is a culture that takes up for abusers, because low-key, a lot of the people who are taking up for the abusers are abusers themselves, or they sign off on that kind of activity. At the end of the day, I just want justice to be served, and for the people who are the victims, I'm talking about people like Cassie, don't get it twisted, to get their vindication. Like I said, y'all let me know what y'all think and how y'all feel respectfully down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Y'all have a very blessed and safe day.